Contract manufacturing in SKU works like this. You still create a manufacturing order, but the build happens at somebody else's facility. On the manufacturing orders list, the method column tells you which is which. One order is in-house, at main warehouse. The other two are outsourced, and their warehouse is not yours at all. It is the contractor's site. There is a contractor filter next to method, so you can pull up everything one co-packer is running for you. Two things make this work: a site warehouse that holds the stock you own at their facility, and a purchase order that carries what they charge you. A contractor is just a supplier you have flagged. Open Manufacturing, Contractors, Cascade and North Shore are already activated, and each one has a site warehouse of its own. Click Activate New Contractor and pick Harbor Fill Works. They are already a supplier, and this does not change that. It only flags them as one you can put on a manufacturing order. Leave the warehouse name blank and SKU names it from the supplier. Activate. Harbor now has a site warehouse. Stock you send there stays yours, on your books, at your cost, sitting in a warehouse that happens to be theirs. Nothing gets built until the contractor has your components. The common way to get them there is a purchase order that ships straight from your supplier to the contractor's site. Orders, purchase orders, add purchase order. The supplier is the one you already buy the beans from. Then change the destination, and every contractor site is in that list. These components are going to Harbor. Create the draft. Add the coffee, and the unit cost comes across from the supplier at $14.20. 80 bags, enough for a 300-liter run with a little margin. Approve it, and the order is open with your supplier. Nothing about this is special. It is an ordinary purchase order that happens to deliver somewhere you do not own. When the shipment lands, receive it. Look at the destination warehouse. It is already the contractor's site, because that is where the order was going. This is where lot tracking starts. The supplier sent 2 production lots on this one order, and each has its own batch number and manufacture date. 20 bags off an older run, and 60 off a fresh one. Add another lot, and type the second one in. Expiration fills itself in from the shelf life on the product, so nobody types a date twice. December the 15th on the old batch, May of next year on the new one. Allocated 80 of 80, so the whole line is accounted for. Confirm, and 80 bags of coffee are sitting at Harbor, on your books, at your cost, in a building you do not own. Sometimes the components are already yours, sitting in your own warehouse. The bottles are. Those move on a warehouse transfer instead, and a transfer is not a sale. Inventory, warehouse transfers, create. Origin is main warehouse, where the glass sits today. Destination is the Harbor site. Add the bottles. Nothing here is priced, because nothing is being sold. This is your own inventory moving to a building you do not own. 320 of them, enough for the run with some spare. Create the transfer. A new transfer starts as a draft. Open it and confirm. Now ship it, and SKU picks the layers for you. The bottles are FIFO, oldest layer first, because glass has no expiration to sort by. Edit allocation is there if you ever need to overrule the machine, but the default is almost always what you want. Create the shipment, then receive it at the other end. Receiving is what actually puts the stock on the contractor's site, and until it lands there the manufacturing order has nothing to consume. 320 units, 1 line. Confirm, and the transfer closes. Both routes end in the same place, components you own, sitting in somebody else's building. Now look at what landed. Filter the lots list to the Harbor site. For batches, with their expiration dates and quantities intact. The December coffee, the May coffee, and both bottle lots. 2 of them were delivered straight here by your supplier, and 2 came over on the transfer. The list does not care which. Everything you own at their facility is still yours, still traceable, and still on your books. Now the manufacturing order. New manufacturing order, and pick the cold brew. Watch what happens. SKU pre-fills the whole dialog from your last order for this product, and tells you so. Method is already outsourced, and the contractor is already Cascade. Everything is editable, so retarget it. Quantity, 300. Contractor, Harbor Fill Works. Output cost basis decides what the finished goods are worth. Value from your components is toll manufacturing, where you own everything and they supply only labor. Supplier price plus your components is the hybrid, where they add materials of their own and bill you for them. Take the hybrid and add a $600 service fee. Notice the source warehouse. You do not pick it. Components come from Harbor's site, because that is where you own them. Destination is main warehouse, where the finished goods come home. Create the draft, and the order and the purchase order behind it are created together. The manufacturing order exists, and so does a purchase order. PO0040, created for you, pointing back at the build. The event timeline across the top is the whole life cycle in one strip. Components at the contractor, PO created, PO sent, in production, receive and consume, costed. Nothing has shipped yet, so the strip says so, in plain words rather than a status code. Look at the line underneath it, because it is the one idea in this entire video. Production is recorded by receiving the contractor's shipment. There is no extra record production step on an outsourced order. Confirm the order, and the strip updates. Your components are sitting at Harbor, and production starts on the first receipt. Harbor calls. 180 liters are ready. Click Receive Outsourced Shipment. Set the received quantity to 180, and 3 things happen at once. Planned consumption scales with it, to 45 bags and 180 bottles. The service fee prorates, and the caption tells you this receipt takes $360 of the $600. And the confirmation spells all of it out before you commit. What gets received, what gets consumed, and where. Confirm. That one-click received finished goods, consumed components at somebody else's warehouse, and costed the batch. It took the December coffee first, because first expired is first out, exactly the way it would have at your own warehouse. 180 of 300 done, and the order is now partially completed. Here is what it cost. FIFO layers holds 1 layer. 180 liters at $6.41 each. Materials, $793.80, taken from the actual lots consumed rather than a standard cost. Service fee, $360, the prorated share of the contractor's charge. Total, $1,153.80. Accounting carries the journal. 1 balanced entry per receipt, dated to that receipt, not smeared across the whole order. One more thing about this batch. Open the lots list and find the cold brew you just made. Its expiration date is December the 15th. That is not the shelf life. The recipe allows 180 days, which would put it in January. December the 15th is inherited from the earliest component lot in the batch, the short-dated coffee. A batch is only as good as the shortest-lived thing inside it. The rest arrives, and reality intrudes. Harbor used 32 bags of coffee on the last 120 liters, not the 30 the recipe expected. Type 32 straight over the planned figure. The remaining column drops to 3. Open the confirmation and it reads 32 as well, so there is no surprise at the point of commit. Your books follow what actually happened at their facility, not what the recipe hoped for. Confirm. That is the whole point of recording consumption at receipt time. The number in SKU is the number they used. 300 of 300, and the order is complete. 2 receipts, 2 finished lots. Look at what they cost. $6.41 on the first, $6.65 on the second, because the second batch drew from different coffee and the contractor used more of it. Both numbers are real. Neither is an average. Recall. Manufacturing. Lots. Genealogy. Choose backward. Pick the finished batch you want to investigate, and trace it. Backward answers the question an auditor asks, and the one you will be asked first in a recall. What went into this? Not what did this order touch, but what went into this specific batch. Here it is. The parents are all there. 20 bags of the December coffee, 25 of the May coffee, and the bottles that went with them. Those are the only lots this batch touched. Now do the second lot off the same order. Same screen, same steps. Backward, pick the batch, trace. This matters more than it looks. If you scoped a recall to the manufacturing order instead of the batch, you would pull back every lot the order ever touched. Scoped to the batch, the answer is completely different. 32 bags of coffee and 120 bottles. 2 lots, 1 order, and 2 completely different recall scopes. Forward runs the other way, and it is the question you actually get asked. Your coffee supplier calls about batch CB2512. Where did it end up? Switch to forward, pick that lot, and trace. This is the direction that proves your traceability actually works, because it has to follow the stock through every hop it made. including the ones that happened inside somebody else's building. That batch was delivered straight to harbor on a purchase order, went into the cold brew run there, and came out the other side as a finished lot with its own number. The trail crosses your supplier, the contractor's facility, and your own warehouse, and it does not break anywhere along the way. Things go wrong. Harbor reports a fault on that last run. Open production activity. Every receipt is an iteration you can undo. Reverse iteration 2. The dialog is specific about what it will do. Restore the consumed input layers, delete the FIFO layer it produced, and roll the completed quantity back by 120. Give it a reason and reverse it. This takes a moment, because it is unwinding real inventory movements rather than flipping a flag. The iteration is marked reversed rather than deleted, so the history survives. The order drops back to 180 of 300, partially completed. Open components, and the coffee and the bottles are back on hand at harbor. The finished lot is gone, and the purchase order behind the order drops back to partially received. And sometimes the build is called off entirely. The cascade order is confirmed, in production, and nothing has been received against it. Cancel it, with a reason code and a note. This is what your contractor will ask you about later, so write it like somebody will read it. Canceling releases the reserved components back to the site warehouse they came from. And because this build is not happening, it releases the backing purchase order too. The strip now reads no linked PO, and PO 0038 is named in the activity log as released. Open that purchase order and it is empty. No lines, no total. It still exists, so you can settle it with the contractor properly, but it will never again offer receive against a build that is not happening. That is contract manufacturing in SKU. A contractor with a site warehouse, components bought straight to it, an order backed by a purchase order, and receipts that are production.
For the full written guide, visit skew.io/docs.